So one of the final things we're going to do with our pattern work is to write an expression to describe a pattern. So patterns are related to functions, and so since we can predict what's going to happen in the future with a pattern of numbers, we can write a expression to describe that pattern so we could plunk in any number and figure out that step of the pattern. And so I like to use a T-chart with this one also. And so in this case, we're going to look at the sequence 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. We know where that one's going, and we've used it lots before. And most people would say, well, we add 5 each time. But what are we really doing in if we want to predict what we would do at the 10th step of that or the 15th step of that sequence? How would we be able to figure that out? So I like to look at this in a T-chart, and I'll put the step, like step 1, which would be the very first in the sequence, has a value of 5. And step 2 has a value of 10. And step 3 has a value of 15. And step 4 has a value of 20. And step 5 has a value of 25. So what we're really asking is, well, what do we do to 1 to get to 5? What do we do to the number in the sequence, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fourth number, to figure out what that fourth number is? And what we find is that we can actually look at the relationship and say, what do we do to 1 to get to 5? That's the same thing we do to 2 to get to 10, and that we could apply to 3 to get to 15. Well, maybe you've already figured it out that between this column, this set of numbers, and this column, this set of numbers, we actually can multiply by 5. We can multiply the number in the sequence, whether it's the first number or the 10th number, by 5, and we'll be able to figure out the value of that actual number. So to write this expression, we say that no matter what the step is, we're going to multiply it by 5. So we would say like step times 5. But remember, we don't like to use the x a lot. A lot of times we would rather say use the raised dot. But we can also, rather than using the word step, we can say s, and then we could say times 5. But we can also write it as the number 5 and then the letter S. We can write them right next to each other because when you have the number, which is called the coefficient, next to the variable, that is understood that we would multiply. So let's say we want to find out what the 80th number in this sequence would be. If I'm starting here and I want to find the 80th number, then I would do 5 times 80. My 8 times 5 gives me 40, and then I'm going to place 1 0 to get 400. The 80th number in this sequence is 400.